Yeah.
Hi, and welcome to this monthly end of month Pure Bookkeeping webinar, where we're going to be talking about today managing change in your business. So it is an incredible topic, is change management, and it's something that's been dealt with for many years. So it's great to have a specialist here, Cecile Boulter. So thanks for joining us today, Cecile.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're very welcome. And many would probably know Cecile from her Xero days. She was my second Xero account manager. And she has now, she will introduce herself, but she's branched out into a different work environment, I suppose, and business. So actually, I might just let you roll into just introducing yourself, and let's get started. And if people do want to ask questions throughout, there's a chat box there if you want to put any comments or questions in the chat box as we go through. But over to you, Cecile.
Beautiful. Thanks, Katrina. So welcome everyone, and thanks for having me today. Xero days. It's been a long time, and I've created my own consulting business back in April. And basically what I'm doing is I'm really passionate about learning and development of internal staff, but also business people. So I've created FocusWise, who's basically an outsourced learning and development training department for small businesses. And I've also created the FocusWise Academy, which is really about helping and supporting small business into with content that is actually relevant to the daily things that we need to deal with businesses. And change management is always at the center of those conversations with businesses, and this is something I've worked a lot on, either for myself or through Xero as well. And and I've seen, as part of being at Xero, I've seen a lot of accountants and bookkeepers really going through the last 20 years, really sort of being challenged on a constant basis. So, it was iPhones. Suddenly we were all contactable at midnight or anything like that, at outside work hours. And then, cloud accounting. It started with GST. Cloud accounting sort of came into place, and then bookkeepers had to deal with bus registrations and, being in transition, and then finally getting into that space of finally being recognized as trusted advisors. And in the last few years, it's all been about really sort of legislations coming into place, such as STP, and what it actually needed you to actually do. So professional association, pure bookkeeping, you guys were able to sort of talk and prepare people for that. But when it's time to implement all those things, it's really hard and really take time, and it's intense as well. So, and obviously in the last 18 months, it's all I've been about COVID and how to sort of switch workplace ways of working, grants, job keepers legislation that everyone has been sort of having to deal with. Being sort of forced onto us in a way. It's like we haven't quite sort of controlled any of that. So I really want today's sessions to sort of give you an outlook around about how at some point you will be able to start recontrolling what is happening in your business, and really want to focus on some of the positive outcomes of being able to identify change, the need for change in your business. What I really want to focus on is really this ability to control the change intentionally, and really discuss some of the things that really make change difficult. And one of the things is people, because change is all about people, and a lot of time we actually forget about that. So I want to talk about what sort of drive people into accepting change, but also being able as a business leader to be able to identify the blockers or the motivators that will actually potentially make the implementation of, here we're talking about implementing the pure bookkeeping system into your business, how it can actually drive a positive or potentially a difficult outcome as well. So the idea as well is to sort of identify when it's time, recognizing the need for change, and when is it the right time to actually implement, but also the quantity of implementation that you need to sort of work on when you decide to actually implement something new in your business. And then we'll talk specifically about how to plan and implement and review the implementation of the PB system within your business. And yeah, hopefully it's a positive. I want to put a positive spin on it. It's not all gloom when it comes to change management. Everybody is always so. It's such an area that is difficult for people to manage, and you know, there is apprehension as well about it. We don't really want to look for change, and I think right now there is definitely what I call change fatigue happening in businesses. And you know, it's really putting some of the priorities with everything that is happening in businesses. It really takes some of the priorities for growth and development aside and yeah, I just want to really sort of hopefully sort of bring a positive outcome to it, and show you that there will be time where you can actually refocus on the things that matter to you for your business as well. So let's see it started. And basically, what I've just said to you is that change is inevitable, but what I want to really emphasize on today is that it can actually be managed intentionally. And this is why I want to talk about today is really the next step, and the next time you're in that space to be able to get there. So a lot of the things that about 70% of all change management project implementation or plan actually fail. And a lot of the time is because we fix ourselves on the technical perspective of change. And it means that we don't actually put enough effort in planning to deal with people related issue when it comes to change management and how it actually affects people. So I think it's very important for us to sort of think about that change is about people, and we need to think about more about putting a plan, a project management in place. It's how do people will receive that change, and how it will actually sort of affect them on a daily basis within their job. So I want to spend the next few minutes to talk about how people deal with things, and really how we are what sort of can set us into being successful in implementing change within our business. Now, I'm talking about people, include yourself. So if you don't have staff, this also applies to you, because this is all how we are wired. Okay, so we do have what I call our needs that are either becoming our motivators or blockers to anything that we want to implement and really sort of drive into change. And it's really pain avoidance. These are the things that we are made for as human beings, and we don't want pain. We hate it. So everything that is going to be that we perceived as being painful is going to be something that we're going to avoid very, very strongly. We always want to seek pleasure. So everything we want to do needs to have, even though we know that the journey may be difficult, we always want to understand that we are seeking or on the journey to something a lot more positive. And the one I like the most is the one that says conserving energy. I don't think it actually says that we're lazy, but I think we need to think about convenience and how, as human beings, we are wired. If you go back to the ancient time of hunters and gatherers, we're not sprinters. All we want is to really sort of make sure that we make the most out of what we've got, the energy that we have to actually get things done. And this today is also very relatable in a sense that when it comes to conserving energy, is we're always trying to get the faster road to what we want to get done. But sometimes, it's one of those things where we've got to take into consideration all those things. So those are basic needs that are basically our motivators or potentially our blockers based on how we're facing a situation. And all of those things are actually depends on our beliefs and our assumptions. And our beliefs and our assumptions are who we are. And basically, there's not much we can do about this. It takes a lot of work to actually change those things for us to be able to work on. But I think from a change perspective, it's really important for us to understand that people will be driven and, based on the belief and assumption that we have. So we all from different environments, culture, languages, sometimes everything is different, but what is important is really sort of drive and understand the goals and priorities that we have in our life. It's for today, but also for tomorrow, for the next 10 years as well. So to be successful at dealing with change, we need to be able to make it, and we're going to make it specific here to a workplace and to your business. As leaders, we need to relate to the intended recipients of change and what they actually identify, themselves by. So as a leader, before you go and deploy a full project management and into implementing something such as the PBC system in your business, we need to be able to create processes and system within your business that helps you identify beliefs and assumptions so you can actually understand what guides decisions and action in your team. And the ability to, by doing that, you're actually able to start challenging maybe some of those beliefs and assumption. And and if everything is positive and everybody understands what you're trying to achieve, it actually allow people to start modifying beliefs and assumptions. And to be able to do that, there are some tools that you can use. And one of the ones that is very, very important is communication. That's the main tool for you to be able to really sort of drive the understanding within your team as to why you want to implement something new and change things. And communication is usually at the center of everything not going well. You can relate to this in your personal life. You can relate to it in very different places as well than just business. But communicating to people with your belief and your own assumptions as to what the people within your team actually understand or should be able to do or should be able to be really comfortable doing is very important to realize that if you communicate, if you assume certain things through your communication, sometimes it will lead to miscommunication as well. The other tool that you can use to really sort of drive that, people to work with you in implementing new things is really about building trust. And from a leader perspective, I think it's about giving trust first, but your people will actually need to build trust, for you on you, which means that you can actually say to someone, I'm telling you I'm going to do this for you, but do they actually trust you that you're going to do this for them? And it's all very complicated, and it's all about human relationship at that stage. But what it will allow you to do as well is sort of create an environment where you can support and motivate people. So when we say, a lot of times in the conversations, the things that we hear about motivation is you can't motivate people, but as leaders, we have the ability to create an environment that can support their intrinsic and extrinsic motivation as well. And to do that, it will actually allow them to commit and really sort of continuously build trust. So building a safe environment is really key. So by talking about that, I really want to really sort of lead into the space where people are really important, and the work that you're doing on the technical part of implementing the change in your business is as much as important as managing the people that will be dealing with the change and the potential results that you're putting in place for your business. So in the chat, I would love to be able to sort of see how many of you have staff and how many of you are just driving it internally for your business, so you can move into the next stage of growth I'm going to have a look at the chat and see if anyone is willing to sort of share. So do you have staff? How many staff have you got? And if you're on your own, would love to sort of hear, if you're on your own, because then instead a lot of the work has to be done by you guys. Anyone willing to share? Katrina, how many staff at the time did you have when you implemented the PB system in your accounting practice, your bookkeeping practice?
I would have had three staff. Yeah. And yeah, it was difficult. And as I was putting more staff on, it was even more difficult in catching up, because you're implementing and I didn't deal with the staff very well. Just like, well, you got to do it. This is the way we're doing it. This is the you pointing your finger at me, Steve. I know I didn't do it very well, and it comes back to communication, as you said, and being very transparent in why you're doing it. So it's that pleasure seeking, as you said, that there's a reason for doing this, and we just have to keep forging forward and working towards it one step at a time. One bit at a time. We do the filing system, or whatever it is, go all our way through. And we had weekly staff meetings as well, just to make sure that everybody was on board, and we had 6 weekly training sessions. And I know we're going to talk about this, a bit further down the track, about reflection and working out what didn't work and what's going to work, and creating some actions around how to make it better. I feel as if Steve has something to say.
Me, I was just going to say that I've obviously come in a little bit late here today. Cecile, right? Cecile? Is that how you pronounce it?
Cecile.
Cecile. I know a Cecile here. So Cecile. This is new to me. I mean, I'm self-employed. I don't have any staff. So I looked at this change management. It means I will have to probably adopt some new practices, purely because PB has different processes that I'm probably used to dealing with. So, you probably don't admit to the fact that you get a bit set in your ways as you get older. So that's where I'm coming from. So yeah. And I haven't got any staff, and at this stage, I mean, the idea of having staff horrifies me. So I'd probably run a mile. So anyway, but that's me at this point. Who knows what it'll be like in 6 months or 12 months? I just don't know.
Yeah, awesome. You're intending to scale, so yeah, getting the systems in place early is a lot easier for that.
Yeah,
definitely.
Well, I've got the sales and marketing thing I'm trying to do at the moment, Katrina, and I mean, I'm a little bit slow on that. I've had a few things that have upset my schedule in the last week or so, but I think that I'll try and get that underway a little bit more, so I'm a little bit more satisfied before I do zero virtual, for instance, as part of initial process.
Yeah.
By the way, I did pick up your book the other day. I got your book in the post. Profit Exit. That.
Grow, Profit, Exit. Awesome.
Yeah, and the T-shirt. My son said, "How bad is that T-shirt? You've got to wear it, Dad." So.
Proud to be a bookkeeper.
Proud to be a bookkeeper. Yeah, I'll put it on later.
Love it. Thanks for sharing.
That's
awesome.
All right.
Thanks, Steve. And yes, you can apply some of those things for yourself. When it comes to pain avoidance, it's like recognizing when you're saying, "Oh, I don't want to change this process because I've been doing it for so long." But think about potentially at some point when you want to start hiring staff, the ability to just stick to the system, to the PB system, is really going to help you onboard those new staff much easier as well. Yep. So yeah.
I'm just going to mute you, Steve, as well. Just
sure,
letting you.
Thank you. That's good.
So one of the things is, as I said before, in today's world at the moment, everything is really sort of imposed to you. So there's always something that is coming across that is sort of driving and moving priorities around. But what I want to do in the next few minutes is talk about the need, the way of recognizing the need for change within your business, and some of the things and some of the factors, and identify those ones as well, so that when you're ready for it and when you've got that time, maybe you can sort of spend, that extra few minutes into the day to sort of think about potentially what's next and how things are coming along as well. So I've separated them both into what I call external and internal factors. Okay, and external factors are really the things that you don't control, and those things are political, economic factors, socio-cultural as well, and technological. So when we talk about technological, we know it was cloud accounting, iPhones, and things like that. But when it comes to economy, we know it's it could be linked, and it's usually related to government legislation as well. So it's bus agents legislation, GST coming in, STP, all those things are driven at a political or economical level as well. And so those things we don't really control. Socio-cultural things is more things like today we talk a lot about mental health in business, where in the past that wasn't as much as it was potentially a focus. It was never as so much in front of people's face as it is today. Diversity and inclusion is really important these days for us. So it means that actually change the way we work and the way we deal with people as well. But I really want to focus on the internal factors because when we talk about managing change intentionally, these are the things that you can easily, well, shouldn't say easily, but you can actually more control than the external factors that sort of comes into place. And really, we're talking about business maturity. So you're probably aware of how business sort of goes and grows, and it's basically the different stage of a business sort of creation. So launch, growth, shakeout. So usually when you've moved into a really big stage of growth, suddenly it's like, oh, hold on a minute, I need to take a step back and really sort of understand where I'm at. And if you've chosen the pure bookkeeping system, you're probably in that space of shakeout where you realize that to be able to continue growth and to move into really develop your business, you actually need a proper system that is really has been proven, instead of you spending hours and hours and hours of your time sort of designing something that is potentially is still going to be ongoing work for you guys, where you relies on the PB system to really sort of drive those changes as well, maintain the system as well, and making sure everything is working well. Then there's maturity, and at that point, once you reach maturity, you're either what they call in decline, or you're moving into an expansion phase instead. Okay, so these are the business maturity factors that can affect when it's time to start change as well. So we need to pay attention to this, because those different stages don't happen one after, at very regular sequencing. There is usually a need for launch, and then there is what we call an equilibrium. That's a big word. An equilibrium stage where things actually, when you need to take the time to implement and do the things that you need to do. So you don't have to rush in between each one of those growth stages. You just need to understand that at some point there will be a time for everything. And that period of equilibrium is very important for you, to give you the peace of mind that you don't have to keep running after change as well. So when you've committed to the PB system, think about how long it potentially will take you to implement it in increments. Okay, and it doesn't mean that you'll be falling out of one of those growth stages either. So I think it's I love the period of equilibrium. And to give you an example of what a period of equilibrium can be in growth is, for example, you've just reached, you've implemented the system, you're ready for doing this. The next step of growth is to start bringing more clients as well, and potentially more staff. And what will happen is that your next step is going to be to bring more clients and more staff. And then you can take the time to actually, through the equilibrium, to actually take the time to really sort of measure and control those moments as well. When it comes to some of the factors that you can have a look at in relation to effectiveness, is that's what I like about this, is that at some point you're like, yeah, am I to actually do this properly, or should I actually be looking at what are the factors that can actually tell me if I'm effective in what I do, or if there's different ways for me to do things. And here it's all about what are your purpose in business, and what are the outcomes that you're seeking, and are you actually getting there, or are you still not really sort of checking into how can you get into that next leap. Being able to assess those things and work, that effectiveness is very important, and it's usually about a time frame as well. So if you can identify the different milestones, or assess your what is making you effective or not that effective, then this ability to be able again to move into a space of equilibrium, and then move and then fix something and then move again as well. And usually one of the things that I think we all get to this point, because that's how I got introduced to the PB system. But I think it was 11 years ago, it was really about, I really need something that I can trust, that I don't have to rework the wheels. I don't have to redo everything myself. There's someone out there that must know how to do it, and I've been doing it for a long time, and that was Deb. And so it's one of those things, identifying benchmark and what other people's do and what other people are doing. That by using the PB system, you're in a space where a lot of us have used it, and a lot of us have implemented it as well, and successfully have done as well. The final one is what I call the balance scorecard. And how do you actually identify different space in your business where that it's out of balance, or it's not following basically what you're intending to do? So again, we go back to purpose and outcomes. And here it's about, from a financial perspective, are we hitting the mark? From a customer service perspective, are we hitting the mark? Or why are we not able to actually maintain or have a consistent approach to customer success and customer service? And then you just review your internal processes and things like that. And sometimes maybe it's about, where can I actually learn and grow different ways as well, in to be able to move ahead. So if I want to start hiring staff, I know that I need internal processes. I know that I need all those things in place, so I can really sort of make sure that there's a consistency in the delivery of my services to my customer. And then from a learning and growth, then it's like, okay, how do I manage staff and start learning into that space for you to be able to be successful as well on this point. So this is really sort of high level sort of things that you can think about and really sort of remind yourself and tick. And you don't have to look at every single one of those factors all the time, but there will be different stages. Hopefully that sort of gives you some tips about when your equilibrium period is about to end, and potentially you need to move on to the next step as well. The one thing I thought about that, over the weekend, and how things are escalating so fast on a daily basis. And I think at some point you really need to ask yourself, do I really need to make the change? And that's also a question that once you have been able to identify the needs, the area of needs that you need to change your business, it's being able to give you the space and time to really sort of ask yourself that question as well. And you don't need to run. There's always this image of running after the bus, jumping on the bus. At Xero, I remember one year, one of the C-level person coming out with, there's sharks and fish out there. Are you a shark? And I was just like, oh my God, this is so stressful. Why would you do that? You have the right to really sort of control all of that as well. All right. So let's talk about planning, implementing, and reviewing things. And this is one of the things that we're going to really sort of focus on today right now is really about the implementation, the planning for implementing the PB system, but also the implementation and the review stage. So Katrina sort of gave us some insight around how she actually implementing the system within a business with only 3 staff at the time. But then as she was growing, she was able to sort of bring new staff, and then things ongoing. It's like the whole was repeating sort of process. But one of the things that I'm sure she'll agree for me to say is that every time she had a new staff, it allowed her to really sort of focus more and more on the business itself, and really sort of focus on what was important relationship and customer outcomes. Are you okay, or is there anything you want to add, Katrina?
You
It's
are
like,
breaking in a little bit.
oh, sorry, I think I was hearing something. So basically, I was saying how the ability to implement the system, despite some of the tedious time at some point when you started, every time you were bringing on new stuff, you were able to sort of realize how much more you could delegate confidently and being able to help and support your customer better because you were more available than just doing the work.
Yeah, definitely. I think once you've got the systems in place, you are going to constantly tweak them as you get new staff and new clients. But it's the ability to be able to scale off them. So there is less training and less transitional requirements, I guess, for a staff member to come on board when you've already got the systems there ready to go. So often we do suggest having Loom videos and stuff like that. It wasn't right till, probably the very end of my bookkeeping business that I did start doing the recordings, which made it easier for the next staff to know what to do and how to do stuff. So you can see, to leverage off those systems, it just comes a lot easier once they're there, and less time on the business owner to have to help them or handhold the next staff and sit down with them for 2 or 3 weeks to make sure that everything is going again. You don't need to keep repeating that. You do it once or twice for your new staff coming on, then you've got your systems, your checklists, your manual and your Loom videos, and it's easier for the third and fourth and continuing on the staff. So you can see how you can leverage from those systems quite readily.
Yeah. So the first part really, it's very simple. It's about planning. How easy is it, isn't it? So basically, I've broken it down into 3 sort of major activities. And one of the things that I think is very important is to be able to translate our intentions into a plan. So, remember the communication piece, always very important at every stages, even that planning stage. And if you're dealing with existing staff, you're potentially, think about pain avoidance, think about those needs, pleasure seeking and energy, conserving energy. And the first thing is, hey, I want to implement a new system. And your potential, if I was a staff right now and think about from an empathy perspective, what my staff would think about that, it's she probably thinks that, there could be multiple things that people start thinking about. And the first thing is, well, maybe I'm not doing my job properly, so that's why she's bringing a new system in. Or, suddenly it's all about me and not about the business. So when I said translate intentions into plan, really sort of communicate why from a business perspective you're doing it. So you're removing any sort of assumptions that people could actually make in relation to why you're doing it. If you haven't got staff today, still very important, because when you onboard new staff, being able to get them to understand why you're using the system instead of them sort of working it out and doing it on their own, I think it's important for you to be able to sort of drive that as well. And again, for you, especially if you're on your own, and you're managing all this on your own with the support of the PB crew, I think it's important to sort of really sort of give you an understanding. We always say, think about the big vision and then go back and just breaking down in some things that are more achievable for you guys as well. So being able to really understand why you're doing it will allow you as well to be more aware as to why things are not working out the way you want them to be as well. Identify what needs to be done. So we talk about priorities. So you've chosen that you wanted to sort of set up a proper process within your business. Where do you start with? And here it's all about when we talked about intentions, what are your desired outcomes right now at the shortest term possible? Okay, think about the long term. But if you're starting to think about what needs to be done, how am I going to do it? Start breaking it down in multiple steps, but identify what needs to be done and what are your priorities for your business. So Katrina, you mentioned that, that every week you potentially had something else that you, or not every week, but based on the planning that you'd done, you had, let's do the filing process first, or maybe we do something else later on. So it's really about this, what I'm talking about when we call, and I realize I've made a big mistake in my writing. So if you're focusing on the slides, you probably have seen it as much as I've just seen it now. But identify what needs to be done. It's about identifying your priorities. So if you think your filing system really needs to be, it's the easiest part to get started based on the amount of work that your staff are doing currently, or the amount of work you have to do. It's like, start by what is easier, maybe. Is there no other sort of recommendation, Katrina, you could put based on what you would prioritize on and starting with?
Yeah, you could look at what is bothering you the most at the moment. What's your biggest pain point? What's going to give you biggest impact by doing something? And if it is, like for me, it's one of the reasons why I bought Pure Bookkeeping, and we are using implementing Pure Bookkeeping as an example of change management process and the thought process through it, is around the filing system, because I could not make a decision of which way to put my filing. Do I do it alphabetically, or, in this folder and put it all over in this different areas, and by year or by process or by, I had so many different ideas. So I was just procrastinating and not going forward. So I purchased Pure Bookkeeping because it had one set way of doing this filing system. So that was my biggest pain point at that time. So that's what I worked on to make sure that I moved all of my current mess that was all over the place, because staff would file it in different places and different names, and put it in that structure. So that was, that made the biggest impact at that moment for me. So what is it for yourselves in your business that's going to make the biggest impact to whatever that action is, that's going to make the biggest impact for, the short term? And whether it is around the filing or checklist or, anything within your business, what may it be? And I'm welcome to pop into the chat. What would make the biggest impact to your business at the moment, working through, let's say, the Pure Bookkeeping implementation at the moment? What part of the system would make the biggest impact to you and your business at the moment? And that could be the priority that you do work on over the next month. So do you have something that is, a pain point in your business at the moment, something that you're, having trouble dealing with? You're welcome to announce it now, and then make a plan around, and you're going to talk about scheduling activities in the next step.
And it can be very simple and very small. Like, I want to know how the PB system is dealing with petty cash. It can be something, we're talking about big things, maybe it could be very simple as to, all right, or how to manage debtors. How is the system really recommending how we deal with things in that way as well? And really, once you've actually done that, and this is probably, I think I like what you said, Katrina, about procrastination. I think a lot of us have lots of ideas and lots of great ideas about how we want to do things. The best thing about the PB system is that it's taken away all that procrastination and years of wondering, you know what? Oh, thank God for that. I don't actually have to think about it anymore. I think that's the key for me as a takeaway, is really about, okay, well, this is how it is. I know it works. I don't have to rework the wheel. It's going to work. So let's start scheduling some activities and let's start getting the job done. And then we can sort of work up as well. Is it the same for you, Steve, as well? Procrastination. I think a lot of us bookkeepers have that as well. Yeah, yes. I was a bookkeeper as well.
It just seemed to be coming through. That's all. Procrastination, and also it's a fear factor thing. Like it's you're just moving forward. I'm thinking, well, to Katrina, I think sales and marketing, it's probably one of my challenges to get a client on board. Psychologically, would be a good achievement for me. I've got. It's interesting. I've just picked up probably one or two clients in recent times, but they're basically just dropped in my lap. I haven't actually gone out and persuaded somebody to join me as such. So, yeah, and as a result, procrastination does sit easily with me in a lot of respects. So that's my fear in going forward. Like this boot camp thing, 5 clients in 28 days. I look at that and I think, that's interesting. That's an interesting statement to make, but that's me. That's just my personality in assessing that. So,
yeah,
we'll see what happens.
And the pure bookkeeping system really sort of, I mean, for me, it's proven. Debbie has run a very successful business.
Yes.
And it works. And I guess the way I sort of was introduced to the PB system is because I was as early as adopter of Xero in the bookkeeping business, and there wasn't anything for Xero specifically at the time. So I worked with Debbie very closely to sort of create the first version of what would be the version of the Xero bookkeeping, pure bookkeeping system. And it was exactly for that. It's like, I want something, but no, I'm procrastinating. This is how you should be doing it. And then it worked that way. But yeah, I think we're all a bit like this. That's what makes us good at what we do, I guess.
No, I like Xero. I think Xero is a good system. So
they all have their
Xero.
perks.
My ops, all right. QuickBooks I've hardly touched in years, so I really got no comment on QuickBooks. So really,
But it's the same thing, when we talk about cloud accounting and how it's changed the way we do things as well. It was at the time that was what was happening. I guess that was the need and the priority in my business at the time.
Yeah. Sure.
And the fear is one of the biggest things, I think, for change management, for avoiding change. So, this is, a great topic to be able to deal with that at the moment. It's like, why are you feeling fear, how to overcome that fear, which, we'll talk about. Yeah. Thanks.
Well, the trouble with fear, of course, is it stops you acting, and action often brings about some immediate benefits, just because one is psychological because you've actually gone out and done something. So I think action's important. So, I've been talking to a mentor here in the Sunshine Coast for ages, and she has been effective on and off. But I think at the end of the day, it comes down to myself.
Yeah.
Well, it does. It comes down to me. So
yeah, it's actions and dealing with this. The inability to move forward, like identifying what that is, and that's all part of this content right here as well.
Yeah.
So thanks, Steve. I'm going to pop you on mute for.
Do that, Katrina. I'm full of it, so that's good.
No, you're good. You're all good. It's good to have a conversation.
But I think we've really covered all the area around planning, and I think when I say schedule activities, it's about just let's get started and start with the smallest thing. As long as you get started, you're on your way to see and really start realizing the benefits of what it will actually do for your business. When it comes to implementation, that's the next thing I'm saying is like, be flexible. It's never gonna pan out the way you have planned it, guys. This is so true. And I think this is where flexibility sort of comes in. And it's like, it's not that it's not working. It's just that you need that flexibility to really sort of give yourself a pat on the back. You've already started. You're already there by just doing it. But yes, sometimes it just doesn't turn out the way you want. And we'll talk about in the review stage how you can sort of review those moments that didn't really go to plan, and how you can sort of make it better for the next step. So be flexible. If it's not exactly what you intended to really sort of have, or the outcomes are not exactly what you want, just continue. And if you're working with staff, it's really important to continuously communicate. Have those team meetings. Really sort of give them the safe environment to vent on anything that is not working. If you're on your own, you have the pure bookkeeping team behind you to be there and really listen to you being able to sort of acknowledge that things are not always as easy as it is on paper than when you put them in place. So communicate, share with each other, and really sort of tell yourself it's not because you haven't done it properly. Okay, that flexibility is very important, and get access to the support that you need as well. Once you've got the plan, talk to people. Katrina, can you sort of remind the licensees what sort of support you guys can provide in relation to that implementation process?
Yeah, of course. So they've got the Map It series. So it's Map It Monday, where they can set some goals for the week of what they're going to work on for the week. And they've got Nicole Guest supporting them doing that and then selecting their goals. And then the Wednesday is Work It Wednesday. So they've got an opportunity to actually work on some of those goals. Jacqueline Fennick is there to help them with any questions that they've got. And then, of course, Finish It Friday, where they can celebrate their wins. And on the Friday, they've also got the weekly support call. So they come, and Deb and Terry can answer any questions around the technical aspects of the implementation, where to find things, how to go about it, and anything else around their business as well, if it's not just implementing PB. So and then of course there's the intercom through PB Central and the Inner Circle Facebook group to ask any questions as well. But if you're stuck on the implementation or anything around your business, work at the weekly support call on the Friday is the best place to get that support. And then if they want to start setting goals and working through those goals, it's the Monday and Wednesday to help them, all at 12 o'clock, all using this one Zoom link.
Yeah. And really what you can do is internally, instead of having your staff attending those meeting calls specifically for the PB system, is really sort of create a very similar process as well. Start of the week, what are we going to do? How are we going to do it? This is what we're trying to attend. And then through the week, work with them, understand, listen, take notes. And then on the Friday, again, hey, we did so well. Let's celebrate even the little piece of winning. And that is very important. Remember about the motivation factors, the mindset as well. So I haven't spoken about mindset in relation to people, but that is exactly what needs to be done. It's like we're already there. We still have all this all the way to go, but we're already so close to achieve our first milestone. And I think that's as a leader, this is really about being able to sort of drive that positive outcome, regardless of what is good and what is happening really as well. And really be kind to yourself as well. You have so much to deal with. Don't be too harsh on yourself if you haven't been able to achieve something. But communication with anyone that is here to support and getting the support is very important. Keeping yourself accountable as well. So if you are managing staff, your staff is your priority. And what will happen is that responsibility will keep you accountable. But when you're on your own, make this accountability go on somewhere else, having a catch up with Katrina, talking, being able to attend those Friday meetings and really sort of say, all right, well, this is what happened and this is what didn't happen. Okay. And I guess this is really sort of leading us into the review stage of any kind of project management process. And it's about being able to, in retrospective, being able to give you the right and the flexibility to really identify what worked and what didn't work. But it's not about blaming yourself for the things that didn't work. It's about celebrating what worked and identify why it worked and what you had put in place to make that work. And what didn't work is giving you the space and the safe environment to, again, go back and really be open about what didn't work. Okay, so priorities change, things happened. You had to really sort of spend more time with the clients than you had hoped for or planned for. But the benefit is that you actually did a very positive things there as well. So the ability to give you this space for also identifying how you can do things better. Okay, when it comes to change. And that's why if you do the planning stage well, when it comes to translating your intention into the plan, to always remind yourself and go back to it, to remind you that this is the bigger picture. But the plan is good. All I need to do is maybe identify different priorities. Maybe I need to review my schedule of activities and I need to tweak this. Maybe it's about, okay, so if you have a staff and the staff is really struggling with something, it's about how can I either help that person myself, or how could I get someone else in the team who is doing really well now and has really integrated the process. How can I help get that person to help the person who's feeling in difficulty as well? So it's about teaming up and really sort of creating that team environment where it's all safe. Failure is fine. We can actually fix it later. There's nothing that is so crucial that we can't fix it. And I think once you've gone through this process, maybe instead of giving yourself saying change management is going to take me 6 months or 12 months, it's an ongoing process. So make it small if it's easier for you. But as we said with Steve, start. Once you've started, you're on your way. You really have done the hardest part, really. And you can spend hours and days and months in planning stage. Until you've started, you really want to start seeing the benefit of what you've been doing, and really sort of be happy with yourself as well. And that works for everything. I think to get started, if you're running your own business, you've already done a lot of things that a lot of people will not have the courage to do. So never take that away from yourself as well. You are in that continuous improvement, that continuous challenge that is about realizing the dream that you've put in place to achieve for yourself. And I think Debbie is one of those people that's always been very clear about why she wanted to have a successful business where it could actually run itself, and support her husband and really be with her husband as well. I think her purpose has always been absolutely beautiful in what she intended to do and what the outcomes were. And so she could achieve what she wanted to do. I know she can't travel anymore, but I used to love watching Debbie going on holiday. And I know she worked really hard before she could go on holiday, 2 months at the time in Europe or traveling around. So these are the things that she had set herself to achieve when she did all that. So that's awesome. So yeah, maybe never forget about what you're trying to get done. Pretty much.
Yeah. And it's interesting with change management, when you look back over your years of what has changed and what you have already implemented in the way of change. Like I remember when Xero came into the industry, and many of us fought it, and me included. I mean, even though I was probably one of the early adopters, I don't know how many months after Xero started, but we're at the first conference that they presented, and it's just all the complaints about, why do we have to change? I can only deal with one software. I don't want to do this, and then the cloud accounting. Why do we have to do this? Why are they doing this to us? And then the STP and, so many things that have changed. When you think about your experience with change, how did you feel when something like Xero came at you and said you have to go into cloud accounting? How did you feel then? How did you object to that? But then how did you overcome that? Like, you've given into it because the industry has moved on. So, embracing that change without fear and putting a plan into place to be able to implement it into your business, whether it was a different software or, receipt bank, like that, even something like that, those things that have changed our business completely as well. Again, no, I'm not putting it in. And then you get to a point where, look, it just makes sense. And then we implement it and it is so much better. So just consider the experiences that you have gone through yourself, with the pain and the pleasure at the other end, and thinking about the energy of that pain, the amount of time that we have spent objecting to that pain, when you really know that change is is needed for your business, or, you know, whatever you've made that decision that's needed for your business, then spend that energy in planning out a successful, easy transition, because it can be a lot easier than we you know, expect it to be. Or, you know, our first thoughts is just like, no, we're going to fight it, it's too hard, I don't want to do it. It can be a lot easier if we just settle into it, know that the pleasure at the other end is going to be worth it, and planning it out so that we just make it a little easier. And, you know, allow that safe space for your staff and for yourself to, you know, experience that fear, talk about that fear, why it's real, what the answer to that is, and then just, you know, what's the next step to get through that, and just what's the next step, and just that constant communication with your staff to understand that it's happening. Where are we going? So, and why we're going there. So it's just, yeah, I think we can take, because I've done webinars in change management like decades ago, and it's just, you know, around big business having change in their big business. So this is not a, you know, a new philosophy, I suppose. It's just understanding the objections that we put on ourselves and how we can turn that around and just make it a lot easier, I suppose.
Thanks, Katrina. I think you've summarized everything to perfectly, and there's not much else to add, really. I think it is yeah, think about, you know, if we go back to that triangle, think about your needs and how we actually decide things, and also what are your beliefs. Now, beliefs are also things that you have seen and done in the past. So, you know, it's you know, if you have experienced something that was negative around change, around a specific area that you know is another area of change, a new area for change, or that requires change, you're always going to have belief coming back. But always believe that things can be better, that you're stronger, you're smarter, you're more advanced than when it happens at the, you know, in the early days or anything like that as well. Nothing has to repeat itself because of the experience that you bring in, you're bringing, and the awareness you're bringing into the space as well. So you can do it. That's for sure. Exactly.
Now, does anybody have any questions or any comments that they'd like to make around this this topic? Anything they want to bring up? We are almost out of time. There's no questions that have come through. That's okay. All right.
So I guess the questions we need to ask ourselves now is, what do we do next? And, you know, I think you go back to the planning stage, write down your intentions and start writing down what are your priorities, maybe for the next months. What's the first thing you want to do? And as Katrina said, what is the priority for you right now? Don't even think about the next step. Maybe we just focus on one thing. What is a problem right now? And how can it be fixed? Give yourself that and action on this. Start. And then it will make it easier to the next thing to do.
Exactly. Awesome. All right. So do you have contact details, Cecile, if anybody
yes, so I haven't put anything in the slides, but I can probably just write down to everyone in the chat box. So if you want to have more conversation around FocusWise, the services or the academy, you can contact me. I've just shared my email, and if you want my phone number, it's there. Yeah, there's a few things that we can help to you know, support you with, especially, you know, we've got a leadership program that can help you in relation to managing and communicating with others if you have team members, or if you're looking at hiring people as well. So yeah, and that's about it from us.
Lovely. All right. Well, thank you so much, Cecile, for joining me.
Thanks for your time.
It's been lovely working with you again.
Same. Always happy.
And everyone for jumping on the call today, and for those that were listening later on, hope you've enjoyed this session and hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you so much.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.